everybody, it's Mr. G. Welcome to this episode of Just Corvette Crazy. It's a very sad day here in the shop. It is winter storage day. So I'm going to show you what I do to prepare my cars for winter storage. So stay tuned. Hey folks, this is Mr. G and welcome to Just Corvette Crazy. On this channel we talk about Corvettes, we fix some Corvettes, and we love to drive our Corvettes. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out a lot. Thanks. Alright, so there's a few things that I like to do to get the cars ready for winter storage. Now the first one that I always address is the fuel. So you want to put some kind of a fuel stabilizer treatment into the tank, but not just the tank. You want to make sure that it actually gets all through the fuel system. So here's what I do. So the two products that I've used over the years is I've used Stable, and I have also used the Seafoam fuel treatment. So both of them seem to work fine. Here's a procedure that I go through. So before I get my car ready to be stored, what I do is I figure out how much of each product I would put in. So let's just pretend we're going to be using the Stable today. So what we're going to do is on the back it tells you approximately how much Stable you put in for how much fuel you have. So here's what I do. I figure out how much Stable I put in for a full tank of fuel. Then I take that number, whatever it is, and divide it by 3. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2/3 of enough for a full tank. Doesn't matter how much fuel I have in it right now. I'm going to put 2/3 of the amount of Stable for a full tank. Once I do that, I then take the car for a drive to get the tank topped up. So I take the car, once the Stable is in the tank, I take the car, take it for a drive, and I take it to the gas station and I fill up the tank. Once I fill up the tank, I drive it home. Once I get home, I put the last third of the amount of Stable into the tank. So the reason that I do this whole thing is so that the Stable or whatever treatment you're using has a chance to make it through the full fuel system while you're driving to the gas station. So it actually goes through the fuel lines, the filter, up through the fuel rails, through the injectors. So the fuel that's making it to the injectors and in the engine has already been treated. Then when I come back from getting the topped up tank, I put the rest of the Stable in the tank. So 2/3 before I go driving, get it circulating. Then when I come back with the fresh gas, I put the last 1/3 of whatever product I'm going to be using into the tank, and that's it for the winter time. So basically, take your product, take whatever your last third is, put it in the tank. Alright, so next I like to take care of the tires. These tires have 30 pounds of air pressure in them. What I like to do is to overinflate them for the winter time. So as the temperature drops, so does the air pressure in your tires. So what I like to do is I like to put about 5 to 7 pounds extra air in each tire. That way when the temperature goes down, the pressure goes down, the tires stay inflated. You worry about long-term sitting with the tires with low air, you get flat spots. So what you want to do is you want to overinflate the tires for the winter and then check them again in the spring, let that extra air pressure out, and you should be good to go. So you're overinflating the tires to compensate for the pressure change that happens in cold weather. Alright, so the next thing I like to do is to prepare to keep the rodents out of my car during storage. So what I use is a variety of products. I use Irish Spring soap, so the green original Irish Spring soap. And what I do is I take bars of soap and I cut them into two. And then what I do is I take 8 of these halves of a bar of soap and place them strategically around the engine. In areas near wires, places where I think mice might want to hide. And the reason why I do 8, and I do 8 in every car, so in the spring, I know exactly how many of these bars I have to take out. So I always split them into 2, just to give myself more mileage, if you will, out of the bars of soap. What I also do is I spread a few halves of the bar of soap under the car. So by the wheels, under the engine area, I spread a few of these bars underneath the car, again, to get rid of or scare away the mice or any other rodents that want to come near my car. For the interior of the car, I actually use some scented dryer sheets. These ones happen to be fleecy. I've used many different versions over the years or different manufacturers, as long as they're scented. So, lovely smell. Some people use mothballs inside their car. I cannot stand the smell of the mothballs, and it takes a long time for them to get out of the car. So what I like to do is use the dryer sheets. And I take about a half a dozen dryer sheets, and I place them around the car. So typically on the floor mats, under the seat. It gives a nice smell to the car, and it keeps the rodents away. So any kind of scented dryer sheets as opposed to mothballs keeps the mice out of the car. Now I know some people have experienced problems with mice making nests inside their exhaust. So if you're worried about that, here's what you can do. Pick up some steel wool. Take the steel wool, open it up, and place some steel wool inside each of your exhaust tips. And what that does is it stops the mice from getting inside the exhaust through the tips. So if you're worried about mice making a nest inside your exhaust, some steel wool will take care of that for you. Alright, so next thing you want to do is you want to put your battery on some type of maintainer, battery tender, whatever you want to call it. So that way your battery does not drain down to nothing during storage. So, if you watched the video when I did cleaning up the grounds and all that kind of stuff, you'll see that I already have a quick disconnect for my maintainer attached directly to my battery. And what I like to do is take my battery maintainer, make my connection. And then feed it up. So that I can close my hood completely with the battery maintainer in place. So that keeps the battery charged during the winter months. So when you go to start it up in the winter or in the springtime, you've got full battery. These cars, if you leave the battery connected, they will drain the battery down even though there is nothing turned on. Your battery will go dead in a couple of weeks even though you do not have anything on in the car. So it's a great idea to keep that battery on the maintainer if you're going to keep it in the car. I keep mine in the car because I like the security system to be active, and I like the car to be ready to go whenever those spring months arrive. All right, so next, the big discussion of whether or not you should change your oil before you store the car or when you take it out of storage. It all depends on, in my opinion, it all depends on whether or not you are close to an oil change or if the oil is relatively fresh inside the engine. My rule of thumb is if I only have 1,000 miles on the oil that's in the engine, I will leave it and change it in the spring. If I have more than 1,000 miles currently on that oil, then I might go ahead and change it before I store it. That's just my rule of thumb. It's what I do, and I've had success with it over the years. So if the oil is older in that engine, swap it out before the winter. If the oil is relatively new, keep it in there until the spring. Change it in the spring, and that way you have nice fresh oil when you start her up in the spring. All right, so now we've taken care of the fuel, the tires, the mice, the battery, talked about the oil. What's left? Put the car in the position inside your garage or wherever you are storing the vehicle. Chalk the wheels so that they don't move. My car is a standard. So is the ZR1. The 74 Stingray is a automatic transmission. So automatic transmission, I just leave it in park. Manual transmission, I put it in first gear, and once the wheels are chalked, I release the parking brake. I do not want the parking brake to have a possibility of seizing on, so I make sure that if I'm storing the vehicle for a couple of months, once the wheels are chalked, I put it into first gear and I release that parking brake. Then, what we're ready for is the cover, and the car is ready for its winter nap. So I hope you found this helpful. These are the things that I have done over the years, and I've had great success with them. So hopefully you will too. Until next time, Mr. G says, keep the rubber side down, everybody, and take care.